had a long discussion actually with my co-writer and producer. He said, where's the humor in this film? And I said, well, our pilot has to outfly a spacecraft in the Grand Canyon, make it crash, and then like knock out the alien and say,
welcome to Earth.
Hi, I'm Roland Emmerich, and I will break down some scenes from my career.
Oh, what are you shooting at? Where you at? That's what I call a close encounter.
This scene is from Stargate. So this was a set we built completely. The Stargate was built kind of mechanical. And this was like an insert which we started doing as a special shot, because otherwise, everything would like kind of shake. And it's most of the time a very simple trick. You put under that table a shaker, and that shakes the whole thing, But you can only like use this as an insert. Here is like kind of the only thing we actually composited in. This was actually created, in a glass tube, which was filled with water, and then they injected air into it, and that like actually made, this whole effect of like kind of the Stargate. And it was like kind of pretty big tube, so they had to kind of slow it down to kind of make it work. It gets sucked back in. You steer the thing so long, creates like this effect of suction movement, trying to steer this thing so it slowly kind of formed this tube. We used water. We could have also used oil or something, but water was like kind of the cheapest. And we like had to do this quite a long time until we finally found the shots which worked. And there was like just here a piece of water, and this actually was the only digital effects we did. This was one of the first digital shots ever created in a movie. At that time, we couldn't like kind of make glasses work. What you have to be careful is like certain reflections in the glass, which you actually see here a little bit. Here, and here, you see actually the reflection of the light. My later films, we sometimes take the glasses out to have not the reflections in. And this next scene is from Independence Day. There was like a model shot, which was like had here a gap, right? Like here in the foreground, and the background is also model. So what you do there is like you make a little blast of air. The spaceship would like kind of make that too. The model itself was shot extra. With like a motion control in front of blue screen. And what you have like kind of then, you composite this together, and it's a very simple way to create a lot of like kind of excitement. Because we wanted to kind of that he runs out of air, he blinds the person, and then here is a foreground model with real sky behind it. Because it's so hard to create sky, you wouldn't believe. You still see here a little bit of the Grand Canyon. Mainly this was all done in camera. Today it's easy, but at that time it was not. Because it's like kind of has a certain luminance, which is hard to kind of create. And, and we like kind of knew that. And at that time, digital technology was not as advanced as it is today. There was like a shot which we wanted to have because he's like ejecting himself. So we needed like a little shot where the thing opens and he flies down. This was like a figure this big, and the parachute was like this big. And when you like kind of shoot it in slow motion, it totally works. And you see how it's very stiff here, because it's actually a model. I mean, it's like a little parachute with like kind of strings, and you can only shoot it for a moment, otherwise it falls apart. But it's such a short little moment that you can do it. Something like this costs you maybe like $500 to do, and then you like throw it in the air. See, and this was naturally from a crane, dropping a stunt guy down. See, and this is now a shot where what we do here, we shoot something white. We shoot here, it's really hard to see, but there's like a real element background with a foreground element and another element here in the very foreground. So this was like probably here converging, and then went more like this. We have like Will seeing the spaceship, and this is like a foreground element here. You know, this is a foreground element. And this was shot in the same lights than the background has. And here we like kind of build some sort of steps up. You know, it's like kind of hidden naturally behind the foreground element. And that's how simple you can sometimes do shots. This was real. Well, no, it was not real. You know what? It was not real. I just see that they kind of put these kind of things in blue screen and composited them in the foreground. It's very hard to kind of create these like kind of things, and you have to kind of constantly do things. Maybe you have to shoot them even extra. I think we didn't want to do that, and then we kind of said, oh, we need some foreground element, and came up with this. Then that's naturally shot totally in a camera somewhere totally different. And see here, you see like another clouds, which you haven't seen before. But that's like kind of just the fact that you have constant changing skies. This next scene is from Moonfall. And this here was like kind of a set we just had. And here was all blue screen. This was like all, you know, like this. And this is the foreground. And everything else is put in afterwards. These days they're creating like elements, you know, in different forms. So this is like composited out of many different layers. And Day After Tomorrow, I remember we had like 36 water shots. One company, you know, like totally failed on it. We had to find another company in due time to kind of create them. It was like kind of a nightmare. And actually these like 36 water shots were like the last one going in. And even some of them I'm kind of rolled my eyes because they were not like kind of that good, but most of the time you cut them just so short in that you're fine. But now it's a company I'm using a lot. They're called Scanline, and they're great with water. This is like a full CG shot. It's all CG. There's nothing ever created for real in this shot. This is a shot which took them 6-7 months. The gravity came from above. This has to be like these arms, you know, slowly getting sucked up. And it's not a normal wave, you know, because the top part gets like kind of sucked up, but the main part of the wave goes like kind of towards the shuttle, which is taking off. We had like a little bit of shake, and we had to shake them a little bit, but naturally not as much as we shake it at the end. Because first of all, we have to kind of paint certain reflections out of the helmets. And I would actually never ever use helmets like this anymore. Just take it out and create it afterwards, because it had a total problem with that. And because we shot this scene first, I then took all the glasses out because it only like reflections. And it's easier to actually put something in than take something out. But here we probably had to paint out certain things, you know, because they covered up too much of the face. And then it's always like kind of, can you reconstruct the face or not? And then it's always like most of the time you say, let's leave it like that. This was like a very simple thing. This is like kind of the foreground, you know? So it was actually 2 shots. That's like actually foreground rain. Otherwise we'll never have these impacts. You know, these like small little impacts everywhere. Like you have to be careful that you never see the rain instead of the impacts. You know, otherwise like you get in trouble. Because you have something in the foreground which you don't want to have. And here this was like also like a shot in real. Here we had a couple of problems because there was like some rain showing up, but it's like doesn't really matter. See here, this is like a typical shot where we use the foreground element. So it has like kind of a realness. It becomes a real kind of feeling because of that. This is like kind of a chopper taking off, but the chopper is not taking off. This is all blue screen here behind it. And there is like real rain in the foreground because we can, because it's like, doesn't matter for us. The camera does like this. Because of that, the chopper takes off. This shot we labored forever. See, this is all about how much water is in the foreground. I will like labored forever on that. And I always said like, okay, a little bit more, and then it was too much. Then I said, make it a little bit worse, because that's even in CGI shots, there's always a certain thing. Is it real? Does it feel real or not real? Most of the time, I'm shooting like stuff wider, so I can go in and make shakes and all kinds of things. Because if you don't do that, your like kind of movies shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. So when you like shoot it a little bit wider, or like when you make it a little bit wider, then they can, you know, like kind of create this all in real, and then you can make like kind of little movements. In old days, you know, like Stargate, you had to build huge sets, you know, I wouldn't do them anymore. I would like kind of just have like everything what I need to kind of do some close-ups, but then the rest I would like kind of do CGI. It's like you can make a movie look bigger because of that. This will be the future of cinema, that you can create like enormously big scenarios, but like actually only like shoot in a relatively small stage.